Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today just got some new fairy tale cards. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check out these new cards. So first off, these cards are being released in Blazing Dominion, which is such an awesome set already, as we're getting new train cards and even new Red Dragon Archfiend cards in this set. And it does appear that they've actually turned the fairy tale archetype into a full-fledged archetype, which is very interesting because Fairy Tale Snow is a part of that archetype. Let's go ahead and see what this archetype is all about. So first off, we do have a new main deck monster, and this card is called Fairy Tale Match Lil, and this card is a level 4 light spellcaster effect monster with 1850 attack and 1000 defense points. And you only use the first, second, and third effect of this card's name each, once per turn. For the first effect, if a spellcaster monster with 1850 original attack is on the field, you can special summon this card in the hand of the graveyard. Also, you cannot special summon the rest turn except for spellcaster monsters. Now that's really interesting right out the bat that the entire archetype focuses around using 1850 attack points, because you can actually use the Spirit Charmers as well alongside this, because the Familiar Possessed monsters actually have 1850 attack points, meaning you might be able to bridge the two archetypes together because they're both spellcaster archetypes, which is really cool. For the second effect, if this card is no longer special summoned, you can add a Fairy Tale Spell or Trap from your deck to your hand. For the third effect, you can pay 5 life points, and the name of one effect monster your opponent controls becomes Fairy Prince. That is actually very interesting, and is probably going to come up with one of the other cards, but that is a very interesting ability just to change the name of one of your opponent's cards, which is actually pretty cool. Now, this card is a really good extender, just to be able to bring it back to your side of the field constantly, so you can go in for different plays with this card, and also it letting you search out a Fairy Tale Spell or Trap from your deck to your hand is actually pretty cool. So for the next card, we do have a new fusion monster. This card is called Weaver of Fairy Tale Tales. And this card is a level 4 Earth Spellcaster fusion effect monster with 1850 attack and 1000 defense points, with its materials being a Fairy Tale monster plus a Spellcaster monster, meaning you technically could use this card with Super Poly as well, which is pretty cool. For the first effect, during your main phase, you can special summon a Fairy Tale monster from your deck or banishment. So if we ever get Fairy Tale Snow back at 1 in the TCG, this card is going to be insane, because you're constantly going to be able to bring back your copy of your Fairy Tale Snow back to your side of the field, which is going to be crazy, crazy strong, and you can just directly bring it from the deck, depending on how easy this is to actually summon. For the second effect, if you normally special summon a non-Earth Fairy Tale monster, while this monster is on the field, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls and negates effects, and also its name becomes Fairy Prince. There it is again. Fairy Prince. This is very interesting. For the third effect, any Fairy Prince monster on the field becomes a Spellcaster monster, which is actually pretty neat. So the plot thickens with Fairy Prince becoming a Spellcaster monster, which is actually really neat. This is actually really cool that you just get to change the name of an opponent's card and negate its effects. So what else do we have? We already have a walking negate, which is pretty good. So for the next card, we do have Chronicler of the Fairy Tales, which this card looks really cool. I really like the artwork so far of these cards. They just look really, really nice overall, and I love the fact that they're still going with the kind of cute theme. Like, she's based on a mouse. This is really cool that she's like the author of the fairy tales. And then we also have Fairy Tale Chronicler that is basically the librarian that's putting them on the shelves, which is pretty cool. But this card has the ability, is a level 4 Earth Spellcaster fusion effect monster with, again, 1850 attack points and 1000 defense points, with the materials being a light Fairy Tale monster plus a Spellcaster monster to make this card. Now that's very interesting, because I believe all the main deck ones are light that we previously have gotten. So that's actually a pretty interesting stat line, that it does require a light Fairy Tale monster, because I do see an XZ down here that is actually dark. So this card has the ability you can only use the first and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. And this card is fusion summon using a Fairy Prince as a material. You can destroy as many cards your opponent controls as possible, and if you inflict 500 points of damage to them for each. That is so crazy. It's a board wipe, dude. That is so crazy. So we just super poly into this thing by just basically summoning out a light fairy tale monster and then using our opponent's monster on the field that is counted as a fairy prince, and it's a spellcaster because of this, and you just super poly this out to your side of the field so you can basically just board wipe and do a bunch of burn damage. For the second effect, your fairy tale monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. And for the third effect, when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can manage a fairy tale card from your hand or graveyard, except a card this card, negate the activation to destroy it. That is 2 negates already for this. That is so insane already for this particular archetype. They're really trying to boost up the familiar possessed archetype a lot, I think, with this, and it's going to be really insane to actually see what you can do with the familiar possessed mix this, because they are getting a Chronicles deck as well. It's going to be a full foil deck, I believe, right around the same time as this set releases, which is going to be really, really crazy to fuse this archetype with familiar possessed. So the next one, we have a Fairy Tale Wiccat, and this card is a rank 4 dark spellcaster effect monster with 1850 attack and 1000 defense points, and I love the artwork of this card. This card looks so cool. I really like this. This card has the ability that it has materials as 2 level 4 spellcaster monsters make it, and you only use the second and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. For the first effect, fairy tale monster you control whose original attribute is light are unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. That's so crazy. So you can just basically summon out Snow. If they ever bring Snow back off the ban list, because it's currently banned in the TCG, if they ever bring back Snow, you can just basically use this to make so Snow's just completely unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. They can't impermanent, they can't ash it, they can't do anything to it when you just activate it. Like, it's unaffected by your opponent's activated effects, period. So you just do whatever you want with Snow. This card has the ability for the second effect, you can detach 2 materials from this card, send that many Fairy Tale cards from your deck to the graveyard, except a card of this card. They're definitely bringing Fairy Tale Snow back. They're probably going to bring back Fairy Tale Snow and then put it as a soft once per turn, or a hard once per turn, to make it so that you can't do it, and a rod of the card. I definitely see them doing it, because they did it with Plush Fire previously, and I think if they just put that once per turn on it, you can only bring it back once per turn, it'd be totally fine. And with the third effect, in this card is in your graveyard, quick effect, you can target a fairy tale monster you control whose original attribute is light, special summon this card, and if you do, send that monster to the graveyard, so you basically tag it out, which is pretty cool. But that's actually a really cool card. I really like that overall. That makes it so that it protects your other fairy tale monsters, it lets you detach 2, and then you send fairy tale monsters from the deck to the graveyard, which is actually really, really good. Hopefully you have a fusion spell soon, because we're going to need one. So for the next card, we have Fairy Tale Long, Long Ago. That's actually really cool. This card is a quick play spell card, and you only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. For the first effect, special summon up to 1 light fairy tale monster with a different name from each card in your hand, graveyard, or banishment. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of your turn except spellcaster monsters. Special summon up to 1 light fairy tale monster with different names each from your hand, graveyard, or banishment. So that means you can summon 3, 1 from your hand, 1 from your graveyard, and 1 from your banishment to your side of the field. So they've got to bring back Snow for this. This is insane. But that's really good. It gives you the ability to summon out 3 fairy tale monsters all at once. That is broken. How broken can they make this? This is so insane. For the third effect, or for the second effect, if this card is sent to the graveyard except from the field, or becomes banished, you can set it, but it cannot be activated unless you control a fairy tale monster. That's fine. They're definitely using this card with Snow, because you do need to banish it to be able to actually get its effect off. Now we have a field spell. Oh, we have a field spell. Okay, what does this do? This card is called Fairy Tale Ball. You can only activate 1 of this card its name per turn. For the first effect, when this card resolves, you can add a fairy tale monster or a fairy tale tails from your deck or banishment to your hand. For the second effect, your fairy tale monsters can attack directly at 1850 attack points. Is going to be insanely easy to OTK your opponent. For the third effect, once per turn, if your opponent special summons a monster and you control a fairy tale monster, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effect. Also, its name becomes Fairy Prince. Why does this archetype have 3, count it, 3 negates in this wave of support? 3 negates! Why are there so many negates? The field spell negates, both the fusions negate. That is so insane. This is such good support. This is such good support, and this is going to take so easy. This is going to be so easy to be able to make this meta. And it's going to be such an insane splashable engine that you can put into any spellcaster deck just about. This is so good support. This is literally insane. Fairy Tale Luna searches out any of your monsters that have 1850 attack points. This is absolutely insane support for this particular archetype, and it's crazy good that it has 3 negates. 3 negates already, and we haven't even gotten through all the cards yet. For the next card, we have Tales of Fairy Tale. This card is going to be interesting. It's an equip spell. With the ability, you can only use the third effect of this card's name once per turn. The equipped monster gains 1,000 attack points, but this adding the ability of being able to attack directly means you can attack directly with a monster that has 2850. That is insane. Once per turn, you can fusion summon a spellcaster fusion monster from your deck shape using monster hand or field, and you can also use any Fairy Tale prints that your opponent controls. We have a searchable, oh my god, we have a searchable Super Poly in this archetype. That is insane. That is so good. That is so good. This card's an instantaneous 3-up. In this card is in the graveyard. You can equip it to a Fairy Tale monster on the field, and immediate effect results, you get to normal summon a spellcaster with 1850 attack. Guys, I'm not kidding. This does have the potential to be tier 0. This does. It does have the potential because it has 3 negates. It has a field spell that's a searcher. It has everything. This has everything. You have 3 negates. You have field spell searcher. You have swarm card. You already have cards that are Stratos like Fairy Tale Luna. You have a new card that makes it so everything's unaffected that's light. You have the ability to be able to make either one of these cards that are both negates by will add. And then you have a new normal summon that's also an extender. Or you just have a new extender. And if it's normal or special summon, you get to add a Fairy Tale spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So you can also go grab the fusion spell. This is so good. And then also on top of that, this card has the ability, any Fairy Prince monster on the field becomes a spellcaster. Excuse me, this one. You can pay 5 life points and the name of one monster your opponent's field becomes Fairy Prince. So this card is a 1-card fusion play of your opponent's card. So you just basically normal summon it, and then you can get to your copy of your Fairy Tale or Tales of the Fairy Tale, equip it to that monster, and then you just use its effect to turn something into a Fairy Prince, fuse it away, and then once you do, you summon out either your copy of your Chronicler, or you summon out the Weaver, which you're probably summoning out Weaver, so you can special summon another Fairy Tale from the deck. And then once you do that, you can also bring this back to the field, and then go in, like you can summon out Luna, get another search off of Luna, I believe. Might be just normal summon, but you can, regardless, if they bring back Snow, you can just bring out Snow with this. And then you have the ability to also just use this thing's effect to be able to just negate. Like, that's so good. And then also on top of that, you can use this and just equip it from the graveyard to one of your monsters. And it's it's a soft once per turn. That is a soft once per turn fusion summon for the second effect, which is the fusion summon effect. So if your opponent has another monster on the field that counts as a Fairy Prince, you can just use that plus one of your 2-3 monsters on the field to make Chronicler, that if it's fusion summon using a Fairy Tale Prince, or Fairy Prince, you just board wipe your opponent and then you just swing in. That's insane. That's literally insane. That's not even hard to do. It's like one normal summon. That is so insane. Literally, Fairy Tale Luna does this. If a monster is spellcaster with 1500 original tags on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand or grave. Yes, you normal summon Fairy Tale Luna, you search this, and then you go full combo. That is actually crazy. That is actually crazy, and Super Poly is playable in this deck. You can just basically play Fairy Tale Snow if they bring it back. You can have so many other Fairy Tale cards. This is insane. This is genuinely insane how good this is. That is actually crazy. Okay, so that's good for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely tell us what you think about these cards down in the comments down below. I think they're broken. I think they're going to be meta relevant, and I don't know if it will be tier 0, but it's at least going to be tier 1. This is definitely going to be tier 1 and a really good contender to be able to keep up, especially depending on what we get for the Familiar Possessed cards, which you guys know they're going to break Familiar Possessed. And this can be absolutely insane to combine this with Familiar Possessed so we can actually just basically go in. So that's going to be this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad. We'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.